The Jewish story, this week's story from the Holocaust, is taken from the book A Holocaust Reader, Responses to the Nazi Extermination, edited by Michael Morgan. Jewish Faith and the Holocaust, a fragment, written by Emil Fackenheim. No purpose, religious or non-religious, will ever be found in Auschwitz. The very attempt to find one is blasphemous. Yet it is of the utmost importance to recognize that seeking a purpose is one thing, but seeking a response quite another. The first is wholly out of the question, the second is inescapable. Even after 2 decades, any sort of adequate response may as yet transcend the power of any Jew. But his faith, his destiny, his very survival will depend on whether, in the end, he will be able to respond. How can a Jew begin to seek a response? Looking for precedents, he finds none either in Jewish or in non-Jewish history. Jewish, like Christian martyrs, have died for their faith, certain that God needs martyrs. Job suffered despite his faith, able to protest within the sphere of faith. Black Christians have died for their race, unshaken in a faith which was not at issue. The 1 million Jewish children murdered in the Nazi Holocaust died neither because of their faith, nor in spite of their faith, nor for reasons unrelated to faith. They were murdered because of the faith of their great-grandparents. Had these great-grandparents abandoned their Jewish faith and failed to bring up Jewish children, then their 4th-generation descendants might have been among the Nazi executioners, but not among their Jewish victims. Like Abraham of old, European Jews sometime in the mid-19th century offered a human sacrifice by their mere minimal commitment to the Jewish faith of bringing up Jewish children. But unlike Abraham, they did not know what they were doing, and there was no reprieve. This is the brute fact which makes all comparisons odious or irrelevant. This is what makes Jewish religious existence today unique, without support from analogies anywhere in the past. This is the scandal of the particularity of Auschwitz, which, once confronted by Jewish faith, threatens total despair. I confess that it took me 20 years until I was able to look at this scandal, but when at length I did, I made what to me was and still is a momentous discovery. That while religious thinkers were vainly struggling for a response to Auschwitz, Jews throughout the world, rich and poor, learned and ignorant, religious and non-religious, had to some degree been responding all along. For 12 long years, Jews had been exposed to a murderous hate which was as groundless as it was implacable. For 12 long years, the world had been lukewarm or indifferent, unconcerned over the prospect of a world without Jews. For 12 long years, the whole world had conspired to make Jews wish to cease to be Jews wherever, whenever, and in whatever way they could. Yet to this unprecedented invitation to the group suicide, Jews responded with an unexpected will to live, with, under the circumstances, an incredible commitment to Jewish group survival. In ordinary times, a commitment of this kind may be a mere mixture of nostalgia and vague loyalties, not far removed from tribalism. And unable to face Auschwitz, I had myself long viewed it as such, placing little value on a Jewish survival which was, or seemed to be, only survival for survival's sake. I was wrong, and even the shallowest Jewish survivalist philosophy of the post-war period was right by comparison. For in the age of Auschwitz, Jewish commitment to Jewish survival is in itself a monumental act of faithfulness, as well as a monumental, albeit as yet fragmentary, act of faith. Even to do no more than remain a Jew after Auschwitz is to confront the demons of Auschwitz in all their guises and to bear witness against them. It is to believe that these demons cannot, will not, and must not prevail, and to stake on that belief one's own life and the lives of one's children and one's children's children. To be a Jew after Auschwitz is to have wrested hope for the Jew and for the world from the abyss of total despair. In the words of a speaker at a recent gathering of Bergen-Belsen survivors, the Jew after Auschwitz has a second Shema Yisrael, hear Israel. No second Auschwitz, no second Bergen-Belsen, no second Buchenwald, anywhere in the world, for anyone in the world. What accounts for this commitment to Jewish existence when there might have been, and by every rule of human logic should have been, a terrified and demoralized flight from Jewish existence? Why, since Auschwitz, have all previous distinctions among Jews between religious and secularist, orthodox and liberal, diminished in importance to be replaced by a new major distinction between Jews committed to Jewish survival, willing to be singled out and counted, and Jews in flight, who rationalize this flight as a rise to humanity in general? In my view, nothing less will do than to say that a commanding voice speaks from Auschwitz, and that there are Jews who hear it, and Jews who stop their ears. The ultimate question is, where was God at Auschwitz? For years I sought refuge in Buber's image of an eclipse of God. This image, still meaningful in other respects, no longer seems to me applicable to Auschwitz. Most assuredly, no redeeming voice is heard from Auschwitz, or ever will be heard. However, a commanding voice is being heard, and has, however faintly, been heard from the start. Religious Jews hear it, and they identify its source. Secularist Jews also hear it, even though perforce they leave it unidentified. At Auschwitz, Jews came face to face with absolute evil. They were and still are singled out by it, but in the midst of it they hear an absolute commandment. Jews are forbidden to grant posthumous victories to Hitler. They are commanded to survive as Jews, lest the Jewish people perish. They are commanded to remember the victims of Auschwitz, lest their memory perish. They are forbidden to despair of man and his world, and to escape into either cynicism or otherworldliness, lest they cooperate in delivering the world over to the forces of Auschwitz. Finally, they are forbidden to despair of the God of Israel, lest Judaism perish. A secularist Jew cannot make himself believe by a mere act of will, nor can he be commanded to do so. Yet he can perform the commandment of Auschwitz, and a religious Jew who has stayed with his God may be forced into new, possibly revolutionary relationships with him. One possibility, however, is wholly unthinkable. A Jew may not respond to Hitler's attempt to destroy Judaism by himself cooperating in its destruction. In ancient times, the unthinkable Jewish sin was idolatry. Today, it is to respond to Hitler by doing his work. Please pass on these words.